Hey Mom, happy birthday. We would love right now to be in Orlando and to be visiting you, but we thought since we can't do that, that we could invite you at least into our house and we could talk to you a little bit there. But you've never been here before, so I will show you some of our house. Now you've got to remember two things, okay? First is we just got over COVID like last Monday, and then last Monday, well, whatever. Because we're getting over COVID, there's a lot of things I can't remember anymore. And then we had this major freeze, which is like so totally weird for this area. You can imagine what it would be like around your house if for like 2 days you had 15-degree weather, and then one of those days it never got above freezing. So I think everybody around here is, as they would say in Texas, fixing to lose a lot of plants. So let me see if I can reverse this and show you some of our house here. Okay, so this is our street. The neat thing about our area is they planted all of these live oak trees. So the whole area kind of looks like this. You walk up and down the streets and there are these trees all over the place. And so it's just kind of beautiful. It's just like walking under a canopy all the time. It'd be nice if this was a sunny day. You could get more of an idea. So here is our house. And right now, for whatever reason, the Homeowners Association is letting me get away with having hope, peace, joy, and give thanks on the house. And what you cannot see right now, because it's still too light, is that I have the house illuminated with outside lights that change colors. And so the reason I'm doing this is just sort of to cheer everyone up in the neighborhood. And I think it's encouraging. I've talked to some of our neighbors and they really like it. And, for this COVID time, for whatever reason, they're letting me get away with it. So anyway, here we go. Walking up to our house here, and you see these like palm bushes that we have here that are normally very green and very pretty, but one of the people at church who does a lot of planting told me these things are now probably dead, which is just not a happy thing because they're really nice plants. But we'll see what happens there. Anyway, welcome to our home, and I will be your tour guide. Let's see here. Ah, look at who's here.
Hi, Barb. Happy birthday.
Okay, so
welcome to our home.
So here we are. This is a actual living room in the house, and when we have a small group here at church, this is where we meet on this side. We actually have like 2 living areas here, which is really nice. So anyway, this is part of it, and you see that we leave some of our Christmas stuff out because it's decorative and why hide it.
Conversation piece.
Amen. Yeah, we can talk about that, and I think in my age, I'm getting a little lazy, but obviously that does look nice. And so this is our dining room, and you recognize some of that furniture. The cuckoo clock and the table and hutch, those things have been with us for years. Anyway, Laura has done a wonderful job of decorating everything. And so we come over here. This is Laura's office. Yeah, but
it's an office. So.
Yeah, it's an office. It's also they say it's a bedroom also, which is nice. I think when Jonas was here, this was sort of his bedroom. All right, so coming down the hallway, this is our little gallery of Paul Detlefson pictures here.
Right. Say it better.
All right. Oh yeah, not kind of, sort of. All right, Paul Detlefson pictures, and at the end of this hallway is a thing I put up here, Great is Thy Faithfulness. There are 4 Paul Detlefson pictures, one for winter and spring and summer and fall, and so I just changed them around, and then I have that because it just helps us always to remember how faithful the Lord is all the time. So here's our kitchen, and Oh, and again, you just have to excuse the way this all looks. Like I say, we kind of just got over COVID, and so we have our remediation. A lot of actually they're
Put up
gone. Yeah, good, Laura.
thermometer and the oxygen saturation reader.
Yeah, we can always check our thermometer, our oxygen saturation, and all that junk. And anyway, this used to be our. We used to have a lot of counter space here, but for Christmas we got an air fryer and it was
Instant pot.
an Instapot, and now we have no more counter space. We're learning how to use those. And this is our COVID recovery room here, which is where we do puzzles and try to keep our minds sharp and all of that stuff. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, and actually we're working on a puzzle right now, which you can't see very well, but here. We got it down to all the unfun parts you can see. Really, we're debating whether or not we should just put it away right now, but no, we will finish because we have the determination to finish this. Now, our outside usually looks very nice, except for the fact that, we were hit by this freeze, and so we had live plants in the back here, but they froze. Oh, and that's a yappy dog who would love to eat me, but we won't let him. And so you can see some of our yard art back there, all homegrown yard art. Those are rainbows for Christmas decoration. There's our little orange tree that no longer might have life. Here are our cowbirds. We have a herd of cowbirds that feed at our feeders, and you just have to look up cowbirds, very unusual things. This is an orange tree in our neighbor's yard, and the neat thing about the orange tree right now is that all of the oranges have burst, and they give out an orange smell, which attracts a bird called the cedar waxwing. And they're very pretty birds, and they almost exclusively only eat fruit. So, kind of a positive thing about the freeze here. So anyway, this is our outside. The birds like it. The plants are hopefully going to be in recovery mode when we get back from Wisconsin in March. So here is our other living area. And as you can see, we still have our Christmas lights on because we need to encourage ourselves too regarding this COVID thing, and especially being locked in the house for 2 weeks and not being able to go out. This is our little sitting area here where we have our quiet times, usually turning the chairs around. You notice I made some I made some turntables to put the chairs on. Okay. And that's usually how we have our quiet times, right? Looking out the window there and observing the birds eating the seed. God really feeds the birds, but he allows me to help, which is very, very nice. Okay, so as long as you're in the house with us, we're going to switch over and then we'll sit and talk with you a little bit. Oh, hi, Mom. So anyway, you're here in our front room, and so we thought we would tell you about our latest adventures, one of which was getting COVID. So how did we discover we had COVID?
I was the first one with symptoms. I woke up in the middle of the night, chills and fever, and immediately I knew, oh no, because when have I ever felt like that? So I called my doctor the next day. She sent in medication.
Hold on a second. Do you want some tea? Okay, well, anyway, go ahead.
It would be rude not to offer.
Yeah.
So that was the very end of January, the last Wednesday, and I got tested that Friday. I was positive, and so we knew that Dan had to be too, or would be. So he wasn't tested until Monday.
And I went into the VA because they're my main medical care. And so I went down there and I misunderstood. I thought they were going to do it from the car, because a lot of places we've been tested right out of the car before. And so anyway, I went there and I had to park and walk like a quarter of a mile, and then I went to one line, it was the wrong line, and then I went to another line, it was the wrong line. Thankfully, I kept asking. And then I found the outside area. Well, the thing was, that was a cold day anyway. And then when she tested me, the lady barely even put the Q-tip in my nose, and I thought, well, I would
a different test.
It must have been different. And I was positive that I wouldn't be positive until about 2 hours later when she told me I was positive. Well, of course, for me then, being a pastor at the church, that had a lot of ramifications because then everybody wanted to know who I had been around the last Wednesday and if it was possible that I infected anyone. In fact, for me, in honor, I guess, of me getting COVID, they canceled the next Wednesday evening meeting. So,
Yeah.
so there we were at home and all quarantined.
We were. And I am the secretary, so, and they do not have backup for me. And my symptoms, once I got over fever, they were mild, but I would get fatigued and have to lie down and just dragging all the time. But we were able to drag ourselves to church when no one was there. We were very careful, wore a mask the whole time, so that I could do the bulletins. I can do most of the bulletin from home, fortunately, on my computer. Somehow they connect me to the computer at church. And so I'm able to prepare the bulletin, but we had to go in there and print it. So we were able to do that every weekend. They never missed a bulletin. We got that done. So that was
Right,
much
and
miracle.
we would always make sure the office was clean. So we would warn John, the other pastor, that we were coming, and he
Go
would
home.
clear out of the building. Well, one of the things that happened was since last summer we have been we've been doing some precautionary things. I found a thing that said that if you before you get COVID, what you should do is what everybody knows now. You use a lot of zinc and vitamin D3 and vitamin C, and there were some other things on there that I was doing. Well, whether it was because of that the Lord used, or just that the Lord was kind to us, I was basically asymptomatic. And Laura, like she said, she had very mild symptoms, but you still felt like you had something. So what happened was we knew to ask right away for a Z-Pack and for steroids, because in this protocol it mentioned that Z-Packs and steroids were two of the things that they did immediately for people. So
And to increase zinc and increase vitamin D3. Zinc only for a few days because you can take too much of that. So we did all of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and so what happened then was after Laura was done with her Z-Pack and her steroids, she felt like the COVID was kicking in a little bit harder, and her doctor prescribed
stronger steroid. for
Stronger
10 days.
steroids.
Yeah.
So I took my steroids, but here's what happened. My doctor, when she called up to the local pharmacy here, and my care is all through the VA. Well, anyway, when she called up to the pharmacy here, two things happened. One, they didn't find that prescription right away, so I had to call back and ask if she had really called in that prescription. Well, the other thing was, when they found it at the pharmacy, they couldn't understand her at all. So they didn't know it. I mean, it's bad enough when you realize that pharmacists write in a way that no other human being, or doctors write in a way that no other human being can understand. But now she spoke in a way that other human beings couldn't understand, really proving she was quite a doctor, not only by her signature, but also by the way she spoke. So the bottom line of all that was, I wound up getting 2 Z-Packs and 2 steroids. So I took my first dose, and again, I felt like Superman. I was doing all the irrational things I had done before, thinking, I can do whatever I want here. So I would stay up to midnight, and I would wake up at 6 in the morning, and then just go strong through the day.
We were in separate bedrooms during this time, though, fortunately, so he didn't wake me up.
Exactly. So I was getting quite a bit done. But what happened was, when I got done with those 5 or 6 days, then all of a sudden I hit the wall, and I attributed it, as one could well imagine, to just not being very smart about my body or my health or my physical ability. And so I hit the wall, and it was pretty hard. Well, I was talking with my sister on the phone, Kathy, who lives up in Green Bay now, and she said, Dan, you sound like you're kind of short of breath. And I said, I'm always short of breath. I mean, we have allergies here, and there's always something blooming, and But when we got off the phone, I was praying, and I thought to myself, Lord, you did give me that other Z-Pack. I always take Z-Packs for 10 days. I never take them for 5 days. And then I had the steroids, and so I prayed about it, and I thought, Lord, you gave it to me. Is it okay if I take them? And I felt from the Lord I had the green light. Well, here's the thing. I took one of the pills for the Z-Pack, and then I took 2 of the little steroid pills, and within an hour, I felt like I could leap over tall buildings once again. And I really think, I'm not a doctor, so don't go by what I say, but I think they ought to keep people on it for at least 10 days. Because this is a serious illness, and I had to learn to respect it. Even though the Lord has been gracious to us, and I didn't have any big symptoms, I just realized that the Z-Pack, the steroid for 10 days, well, it was something the Lord provided for us, and it worked well. So we got over the steroid, we got over COVID, at least the quarantine period. I think we still both have a lingering.
Yeah, just tiredness every now and then.
Yeah.
I don't have the same kind of strength I used to.
Yeah. It's like you wake up and an hour later you feel like it's time for a nap. Anyway, but not quite. So then we went through the quarantine period to come into this deep freeze that we just went through. And at the beginning, it was kind of romantic because we've got a fireplace, and did we still have the Christmas tree up, or had I taken it down?
I think we had it up, didn't we, the whole time?
Yeah, I hate to admit it. Maybe it's because we're getting old, or because it's just been such a funky year. Yeah. But the Christmas tree was even
cherry. We liked it.
Yeah, so. It was. Kept you happy.
No excuses.
Exactly. Well, and no shame in doing it either. I'm 66 years old. I don't care anymore.
We want to.
Exactly. So then what happened was we had that very cool, I say cool, but it was neat in that it snowed here. And so we had snow on the ground, and it was I went out and walked. It was 15 degrees. I mean, whoever heard of that? But all of our plants that were out in the backyard, which I showed you, are no longer there, unfortunately. Yeah. I had them covered up with black plastic bags, and I had lights underneath, and the lights were actually generating enough heat that the bags were puffed out. So I figured these were safflower plants, and they're pretty when they bloom and everything. But anyway, so I figured all of that is covered. The Lord is good. And that night we went to bed, and it was, again, 15 degrees or so that night. And kind of about 4 o'clock in the morning, the Lord got me up, and I realized it feels a little bit cold in the house. Now, it hadn't gotten really cold. But the other thing I realized was none of the lights were working. And so you may have heard that in Texas we were having these blackouts. Well, we were blacked out. We had no electricity at all in the house, which unfortunately for the plants outside was rather fatal. But again, we can plant plants. But the problem here was, what are we going to do with no electricity? Now we have a fireplace, but that doesn't heat up the whole house. And the problem here, and I don't know with Jaron Lona's house or your house there, they don't put the pipes under the house, they put them up in the attic. So if the attic gets cold, the pipes freeze, they break, and basically you have ceilings coming down and water coming down in various rooms of the house. Just not a good thing. So when that happened, I obviously was praying, and the Lord gave me an idea. Now, we have a generator that I bought last year in case we ever get a hurricane, so that we can kind of put an air conditioner in a room and keep the refrigerator going. But the question is, how do you heat your house? Well, long story short, there's a way to hook electricity up to your furnace. Now, the furnace is only 115 volts. I know you always wanted to know that. But if you put electricity to the furnace, it activates the thermostat, and it'll power the heating unit. And that's what we needed, was the heating unit. So Laura is sleeping blissfully in bed, and I'm praying at 90 miles per hour, Lord.
I got up and I knew that he was off too, remember? I think that was before you put the generator out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, good times you forget sometimes.
Yep.
So anyway, I figured it all out. Thankfully, I had the right plug connector in all my junk out there. That's why men never throw anything away, because I had this plug that I probably had for like 10 years sitting in my junk, and I knew where it was actually, which is another miracle. You know, I told you how old I am now, 66. So anyway, I went up in the attic real quick and I cut the line and I put this end on. I connected this heavy duty extension cord I have. I took the generator and put it outside 25 feet from the house so we wouldn't die from the gas, and plugged it in and started it up. And I came inside and I heard one of the most beautiful sounds I have ever heard before. It was our furnace kicking in and spewing out heat, and it was wonderful. And I celebrated. I know Laura wasn't up then. I made myself a cup of coffee.
Plugged in the coffee maker, plugged in the refrigerator, the TV, although we couldn't get internet.
Yeah.
What else did you?
Oh yeah,
Some lights.
Lights. I even
Lights.
got some of our Christmas lights up and going. Now, what was so interesting is, of course, I've heard stories before of Makuma, and I've heard stories before of Yapi and the generator going, and how important the generator was. Well, this is my first experience living with a generator that you always have to nurture and feed and be kind to, because they do make, not only, I wasn't worried about the noise, but what you get used to is the way that they sound when something kicks in, like the coffee pot would drain the generator and it would go blah, 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 and it would start up again. And so you're always listening for that. And so that was my life for 2 days, basically listening to the generator.
And finding fuel.
And finding fuel. That was the other thing. Now, this generator works on propane and gas. That's not important. But it runs so much better on gas. And when it runs on propane, you always think it's something's wrong with it. But the propane here sold out almost immediately. You couldn't, well, and the other thing is that a lot of the propane machines run on electricity.
Yeah.
So you've got to go there and be able to put your card in. They've got to hook up to the internet. Well, good luck on that. And so
Gas stations were closed. So finding gas was very hard. But he went out and,
yeah,
anyway, it ran the whole time we needed it, which was about a day and a half.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Before it came back on again.
But the Lord kept us a little bit grateful and dependent and thankful. So that night that it was running, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I think I always heard it, even when I was sleeping. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I realized it was kind of cold in the house. Now the generator is running, everything is plugged in, but the furnace wouldn't kick in. So we kind of went into disaster mode again. Anyway, I went upstairs, I unplugged it, I plugged it back in. I went outside, I unplugged it, I plugged it back in, praying really hard during all of this. And that's what I would recommend. That would be part of the recipe. Always pray real hard. And I came back inside and I heard one of the most beautiful sounds, again, that I've ever heard. And it was the furnace kicking in and spewing out heat. And so that was just enough for the Lord to say, hey, just keep in mind that I'm in charge of all of this. And we were very thankful for that.
Amen.
Amen. So hopefully you didn't have adventures like that in Florida. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but all the people who are in charge of Texas's energy system have all now resigned. And all 5 of them live in other places, even
California, Michigan, yeah, right.
Canada, and they all had heat, but not us in Texas. How did that work out? Anyway, they are no longer with us, and we're all thankful for
And
that.
a lot of our friends though had trouble with the water, losing the water,
Yeah.
and water disasters in their bedrooms,
Broken
and the
pipes.
ceilings.
Yeah.
We never had that, so we are very thankful. We left the taps running every night though.
Yeah.
So, all day long. So.
Yeah, they weren't dripping, they were running. Yeah, because the freeze line here is only like about a foot deep. And so the lines can freeze outside too if the water isn't running through them. And, well, anyway, just a different world here. This reminded me of 1981 when we moved to Dallas. Beth and I and Helena lived in a two-room apartment behind the Yees on the east side of Dallas on Palo Pinto. And in order to heat that apartment, we had to open the oven downstairs and run that all night long. And then upstairs in our bedroom, which it was just a big room up there with a high ceiling, there was one of these space heaters, but it was natural gas. And when you lit it, there was a flame that went up the front of it. And I thought every night we were going to die, but we didn't die. And that was a really hard winter too, because when I would go to work, I would see I knew there were broken pipes, broken water supply to houses because they were coming out of the front lawns and all of that. And the people we rented from had a major malfunction in their house. But anyway, so I maybe lived through two of these in Texas now, and hopefully not another one.
No more.
So I don't know what you all are doing there, but just one thing that we have coming up here is the chapel where I met Beth up in Milwaukee. They're having a men's retreat, and so we're going to be going up there in 2 weeks.
March 12th.
Yeah.
13th is the retreat. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll be speaking at the chapel on the 14th, which is a Sunday. And now the thing is, we know we're going into cold weather up there. Up in Wisconsin, you're used to cold weather. Here, not so much. But anyway, we're looking forward to that and going up there and seeing my uncle. My uncle, he and I share the same birth date, and so I'm 66, and he just turned 80.
80.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and from the Bible, we all know that 80 is a very young age. Moses had to get to 80 before God could even use him. Why do I think there's another 80 in there?
Wasn't that Joshua?
Yeah, Joshua was probably about 80. I know Caleb was. Yeah. So anyway, 80's young. So Jerry, you got something to look forward to. Being useful for the Lord at the young age of 80. Yeah. Anyway, we're happy that you could visit us here in our house. And so...
Can't believe that it was 6 years ago when we were all there together in Orlando. But
yeah.
6 years. That's right? You're 96? We think we have that right?
I hope so. And if not, we'll blame it on COVID or blame it on the fact that we all got older and how did that happen?
I know we were there in 2015, so that's when Greg got married. It was the same year.
Right.
And we were in Dallas.
Yeah, that's right.
Laura was 90.
It's a lot of life that has happened since then.
Oh gosh, yeah.
We went to Scotts Bluff after that,
we went to
right?
Scotts Bluff, yeah.
Wow.
Came here. And here we are.
Yeah. So we don't want to abuse your sensitivities and your hearing, but here goes happy birthday.
Oh, okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mom. Happy birthday to you. Well, we love you. We love you very much. And one of these days we will wander down again toward Orlando. Gary and Helena, and that makes it convenient-er that they're in Atlanta right now, but they're thinking that they're going to be going back to Germany, and who knows what will happen. Yeah. It's all in the Lord's hands right now, and so...
They need to raise support for the kids to go to school if they move to Condon. So there's a lot of questions, and I'm sure you're praying for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and Janae isn't that far. Well, I mean, she's not that close to you either, but she has the best ability of any of us to visit you. And I know that I think she and Joe have been there to see you too. And so hopefully she'll be able to get down again. I know Gary and Helena were hoping to get down. I haven't talked to them in a week or so, so we'll kind of figure out what happened there. They'll probably want to see you before they go back to Germany, if they go back to Germany. So, Lord bless you and keep you, and we will stay in communication. Thanks for visiting us here in our little home. Bye-bye.